The fog rolled in thick from the Pacific that morning, clinging to Camp Pendleton like a living thing. Gray and cold. The kind of silence that comes before thunder. 1,000 Marines stood in perfect formation, dress uniforms sharp, boots polished to mirrors, eyes forward. Not a single man moved. Lieutenant Kira Blackwell stood in the rear formation, 28 yards from the reviewing stand. 29 years old, 5'7", lean build, the kind that comes from carrying 70 pounds through mountains. Her uniform was pressed crisp, creases sharp enough to draw blood. Dark hair pulled back tight, face that gave nothing away, eyes that looked through you, not at you. On her left wrist, just below her watch, she wore a thin black band. Simple. She touched it sometimes when she was thinking. Rear Admiral Victor Crane stood at the reviewing stand, 2 stars gleaming on his collar. 57 years old, 33 years in the Navy, most of it behind desks. He believed in tradition, order, the way things had always been. He was giving a speech about warrior culture, about maintaining the fighting spirit that built the greatest military in history. The Marines listened respectfully, faces blank. Then Crane stopped mid-sentence. His eyes locked on Kira. He stared too long. He turned to Colonel Nathaniel Grayson beside him. "Who is that?" "Lieutenant Blackwell, sir, Navy. She runs our advanced tactics program." Crane's jaw tightened. "I didn't ask what she did. I asked who authorized a woman to stand in formation with Marines." "She's fully qualified, sir. One of our best instructors." Crane stepped down from the platform. The microphone was still live. Every word carried across the parade ground. "I'll be the judge of that." He walked straight toward Kira, boots clicking on pavement. Every Marine turned to watch. Kira didn't move, just stood at attention, eyes forward. Crane stopped 2 feet in front of her. "You don't belong here, sweetheart. This is a warrior's world." Kira said nothing, just looked at him with flat, empty eyes. Something about that look made Crane angrier. The silence, the lack of reaction. "You think you're tough? You think you've earned the right to stand here with real warriors?" Still nothing, just that calm, empty stare. Crane's hand came up fast, a backhanded slap that cracked across her jaw with enough force to snap her head sideways. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Blood appeared instantly, a split lip, red drops falling onto gray pavement. Kira didn't flinch, didn't step back. She straightened slowly, turned her head back to center, and looked at him again. Her hands stayed at her sides. Her breathing didn't change. She just stood there bleeding, completely calm. For a moment, nobody moved. 1,000 Marines stood frozen. An admiral had just struck a subordinate officer in front of everyone. Crane's voice was shaking. "You're dismissed. Get off my parade ground." Kira raised her hand in a slow, perfect salute. Then she turned and walked away. Back straight, boots clicking. She didn't look at anyone, just walked. The silence behind her was absolute. Kira walked straight to the barracks bathroom and locked the door. She stood at the sink, looking at her reflection. Blood on her chin, swelling starting on her cheek. The cut on her lip would need attention, but she'd had worse. She ran cold water, cleaned the blood off her face, pressed a wet towel against her mouth. The physical pain didn't bother her. She'd been through Hell Week at BUD/S. She'd been shot at. She'd carried a dying man 200 meters under enemy fire. A split lip was nothing. What bothered her was the anger. She'd spent 6 years learning control, learning to stay calm when everything around her was chaos. And right now, every instinct wanted to go back out there and put Victor Crane on the ground. She closed her eyes, took 3 slow breaths, let the anger drain away. Her father's voice echoed in her head. Master Sergeant Garrett Blackwell, Force Recon Marine, Desert Storm veteran, Navy Cross recipient. He'd raised her alone in rural Wyoming after her mother died, taught her to shoot, track, hunt, taught her to stay calm no matter what. His favorite saying, Anger makes you sloppy, baby girl. In Kafji, I watched men die because they got angry. Stay cold. Always. Kira touched the black band on her left wrist. Underneath was a tattoo. Small, simple, black script. Wraith's blood. Below it, numbers. 1960 to 2021. The day her father died. She'd made him a promise that day, that she'd keep doing the job, that she'd never let anger or fear control her, that she'd be calm in the storm, no matter what it cost. And today she'd kept that promise. Then her phone rang. Colonel Grayson. Lieutenant Blackwell, report to my office immediately. She straightened her uniform and walked out. Whatever came next, she'd handle it with control, with silence, with the kind of strength that didn't need to be loud. When Kira walked into Grayson's office, Crane was already there, standing by the window, arms crossed, face red. Grayson sat behind his desk, looking like he'd aged 10 years. He gestured to a chair. Lieutenant, sit down. I'm fine here, sir. Grayson sighed. Rear Admiral Crane has filed a formal complaint. He's alleging insubordination and conduct unbecoming an officer. He's requesting that you be removed from your assignment. Kira said nothing. Crane turned from the window. She disrespected me in front of 1,000 Marines. That kind of behavior can't be tolerated. Grayson's voice went cold. You struck her, sir, in front of those same Marines. That's assault under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I was correcting an officer who had no business being on that parade ground. That's not your call to make. Crane's jaw clenched. Fine. If she thinks she's qualified to train Marines, then let's test that. Put her through the Advanced Combat Assessment. 3 full days. If she completes it, I'll drop the complaint. If she quits, she's gone. Grayson looked at Kira. Lieutenant, you don't have to agree to this. What he did was illegal. We can file charges. Kira was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at Crane. 3 days? 3 days. Full mission profile. The same evaluation we use for force recon candidates. Most people quit by day 2. And if I complete it, I drop the complaint and you stay at Pendleton. Kira turned to Grayson. Sir, I'll do it. Grayson shook his head. Lieutenant, I'm ordering you not to. This is a setup. With respect, sir, I'll do it. Crane smiled. Good. Report to the training area at 0500 tomorrow morning. Bring your gear. We'll see how long you last. Kira saluted both officers and walked out. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall and let out a long breath. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline, from the effort of staying calm. But she knew what this really was. Crane wanted to humiliate her, wanted to prove that women didn't belong in combat roles, wanted to use her failure as an example. What he didn't know was that Kira had already been through worse, much worse, and she'd survived by doing exactly what her father taught her. She touched the black band on her wrist, thought about Garrett, about the promise she'd made. Then she headed to her quarters. She had 18 hours to prepare. Kira's quarters were sparse. Regulation bed, footlocker, desk with a single photo frame. The photo showed a man in desert camouflage, holding a K-bar knife. Master Sergeant Garrett Blackwell, Kuwait, 1991. She sat on her bed and stared at the photo. Wyoming, 2005. She was 10 years old. Her father had moved them to a cabin in the mountains after he retired. Middle of nowhere, just them, the wilderness, and the ghosts Garrett carried from the Gulf War. He started training her that first winter. Real training, the kind that saved lives in combat. She remembered that first morning, snow on the ground, temperature below 0. Garrett woke her at 0430. Get dressed, baby girl. We're going for a walk. He handed her a backpack, 30 pounds. For a 10-year-old, it might as well have been 100. We're going to walk 10 miles today. You're going to carry that pack the whole way. You're going to keep up with me. And you're not going to complain. Why, Dad? Because one day someone's going to tell you that you can't do something. They're going to tell you that you're not strong enough, not good enough, and you're going to prove them wrong. But first, you have to prove it to yourself. They walked 20 miles that day. She cried for the last 5, but she didn't quit. That became their routine. Every morning, rain, snow, sun, they walked, they ran, they climbed. He taught her to shoot, to track, to move through the forest without making a sound. But the real lessons were deeper. Anger makes you sloppy. Fear makes you stupid. Pain is just information. Control is the only thing that matters. He'd been in Khafji during the Gulf War. Battle of Khafji, January 1991, when Iraqi forces pushed into Saudi Arabia and the Marines had to push them back. Garrett was force recon, deep behind enemy lines. He earned his Navy Cross there, saved 8 Marines when their position got overrun, killed 3 enemy soldiers with his K-bar knife when his rifle jammed, stayed calm while hell erupted around him. But he also watched men die. Good men, friends. Some of them died because they panicked, because they got angry, because they let fear control them. I learned something in that desert, he told Kira when she was 16. They were sitting on the porch, cleaning rifles, watching the sunset. I learned that the warrior who stays cold wins, the one who keeps his head while everyone else is losing theirs. That's the one who survives. That's the one who brings his people home. He looked at her, really looked at her. You're going to be a warrior, baby girl. I can see it in you. You've got the eyes, the focus. You don't quit when things get hard, but you have to remember something. What, Dad? Anger is poison. It'll get you killed. It'll get the people around you killed. Stay cold. No matter what they do to you, no matter what they say, stay cold. Kira came back to the present, sitting on her bed at Camp Pendleton, the photo of her father in her hands. She'd kept that lesson through BUD/S training, through 4 combat deployments, through the day Cole Brennan died in her arms. Stay cold. Tomorrow, she'd prove it again. Kira couldn't sleep. She got up, dressed in PT gear, and walked to the armory. The base was quiet at midnight, just her boots on pavement, distant ocean waves, wind through palms. She checked out her rifle, M4A1, standard issue. She'd carried the same weapon through Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen. She knew every scratch on it. She took it to the cleaning station and started breaking it down. The ritual helped. The familiar motions, the smell of gun oil, the focus required. Her mind drifted to another memory. Wyoming, 2019. Her father was dying. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The doctors gave him 3 months. He lasted 6 out of pure stubbornness. She came home on emergency leave, found him in his workshop trying to clean his old K-bar knife. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold it. She took it from him, cleaned it in silence while he watched. "You're going to be fine without me," he said finally. "I know, Dad." "No, you don't, but you will." He paused. "I trained you for a war I pray you never fight. But if they test you, if they doubt you, if they try to break you, stay cold, I know." More than that, he reached over and took her hand. "They're going to tell you that you don't belong, that women can't do this job, that you're not good enough, and you're going to prove them wrong. Not with words, with action, with silence, with skill." He pulled out a worn leather case. Inside was his K-bar, the one from Khafji, blood grooves stained dark from 30 years ago. "This blade saved my life, killed 3 enemy soldiers when my rifle failed. Now it's yours." "Dad, I can't." "Yes, you can, and you will." He pressed it into her hands. "When they doubt you, remember, you're not just Kira Blackwell. You're Wraith's daughter. You've got my blood, my training, my ghost watching over you." He died 3 weeks later. She'd been holding his hand when he took his last breath. His final words were barely a whisper. "Make me proud, baby girl. Stay cold. She'd made him a promise right then that she'd never quit, never let anger control her, never give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her break. And she'd kept it through everything that came after. Kira finished cleaning her rifle, reassembled it, ran a function check. Perfect. She looked at her watch. 0230. 2.5 hours until she had to be at the training area. She went back to her quarters, opened her footlocker. Inside was a small leather case, her father's K-bar. She pulled it out. The blade was still stained. She'd never cleaned the blood groove. Garrett had told her not to. That's history. That's proof. Keep it. She strapped the knife to her vest, where it belonged. Then she lay back on her bed and closed her eyes. Not to sleep, just to center herself, to find that cold, calm place her father had taught her to access. Tomorrow, Victor Crane was going to try to break her. But he didn't know who he was dealing with. He didn't know about the Wyoming winters, the 20-mile forced marches in the snow, the hand-to-hand combat training in abandoned barns. He didn't know about BUD/S, about Hell Week, about carrying boats on her head for 20 hours, about hypothermia, about instructors screaming in her face. He didn't know about Afghanistan, about the helicopter crash, about dragging Cole Brennan through enemy fire. And he definitely didn't know about Garrett Blackwell, about Wraith, about the ghost that trained her. Crane thought he was testing some young female officer who got lucky. He was about to learn the truth. 0500 hours, the training area east of Pendleton. Dark, cold, fog so thick you couldn't see 20 feet. Kira stood at the starting point, full combat load, 60-pound pack, body armor, helmet, rifle, water, medical kit, everything she'd need for 3 days in the field. Crane was there with 2 evaluators. Gunnery Sergeant Wyatt Stone, 42 years old, 20 years in the Corps, Force Recon veteran, hard eyes. Staff Sergeant Blair Kendrick, 36 years old, 15 years in, combat veteran, female. She looked at Kira with something that might have been respect. Crane checked his watch. You ready, Lieutenant? Yes, sir. The rules are simple. 3 days, 5 major evolutions, navigation, tactical problem solving, combat scenarios, casualty evacuation, escape and evasion. You fail anyone, you're done. You quit at any time, you're done. Understood? Understood, sir. Crane's eyes were cold. Your father barely made it through Kafji. Let's see if you have his genes. Kira said nothing, just looked at him with those flat, empty eyes. Crane smiled. Your first objective is 30 kilometers north. You have 6 hours. If you're late, you fail. Good luck. He got in the vehicle and drove away. The evaluators followed in another truck. Kira was alone in the dark. She adjusted her pack, checked her compass, started walking. 30 kilometers with 60 pounds on your back is brutal. The terrain was rough. Steep hills, loose rocks, thick brush. Kira's legs were burning after the first hour. After 2 hours, her shoulders felt like they were on fire. After 3 hours, every step hurt, but she kept moving, 1 foot in front of the other, breathing steady, mind focused. She'd done this before. Hell Week at BUD/S. 200 miles of running and walking with almost no sleep. Hypothermia, hallucinations. Guys twice her size quit because their minds broke before their bodies did. She'd made it through that. She could make it through this. Hour 4. The sun was burning through the fog. Her vision was narrowing. Tunnel vision, sign of exhaustion. She thought about Wyoming, about the forced marches with her father, about being 10 years old and wanting to quit. Garrett's voice in her head, clear as day. Pain is just information, baby girl. Your body's telling you it hurts. So what? Acknowledge it, then keep moving. She kept moving. Hour 5. Her legs were shaking. Her lungs were burning. She was hallucinating, seeing shadows that weren't there. Then she saw him. Her father, running beside her, desert camo, K-bar on his hip, smiling. You got this, baby girl, just like Wyoming. One foot, then the other. Stay cold. She blinked. He was gone. But the voice remained. Hour 5 and 29 minutes. She crested the final hill. The checkpoint was below. Crane standing there, arms crossed. She stumbled down the hill, legs barely working. Reached the checkpoint, dropped her pack, stood at attention. Crane looked at his watch. 5 hours, 29 minutes. He was trying to hide his disappointment. Kira reached into her cargo pocket, pulled out a worn photograph. Garrett Blackwell in desert camo, 1991, Kuwait, standing with his platoon. And there in the background, barely visible, was a young officer, 27 years old, Victor Crane. Kira held up the photo. I know you served with my father, Admiral. Battle of Khafji, January 1991. He spoke highly of you. Crane's face went white. His hands started shaking. For a long moment, he just stared at the photo, at his younger self, at Garrett Blackwell, at the ghost he'd been trying to bury for 30 years. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Where did you get that? He gave it to me, before he died. Told me stories about Khafji, about the men he served with, about the ones who made it home. Crane couldn't look at her. Day 2 starts in 4 hours. Rest if you can. He turned and walked away. Stone and Kendrick approached. Stone looked at Kira with new eyes. That was impressive, ma'am. Kendrick just nodded. Kira sat down, drank water, ate an energy bar. Her body was screaming, but her mind was clear. 1 day down, 2 to go. She touched the black band on her wrist, felt the tattoo underneath. Wraith's blood. She was just getting started. 4 hours wasn't enough for sleep. Kira didn't even try. She sat against a concrete barrier, cleaning her rifle, checking her gear, preparing her mind. The sun climbed higher. The fog burned off. California heat settled over the training area. Stone and Kendrick were setting up the next evolution. Kira watched them work. Professional. Efficient. At 0900, Crane's vehicle pulled up. He stepped out, holding a clipboard. Wouldn't look at Kira directly. Evolution 2. Building clearance. Hostage rescue scenario. Unknown number of hostages. Unknown number of hostile forces. Time limit, 30 minutes. Rules of engagement standard. Failure to secure all hostages results in automatic disqualification. He finally looked at her. Questions? No, sir. Then get ready. The target building was an old training structure. 2 stories, multiple rooms, perfect for close-quarters combat training, but never while her body was already shutting down from exhaustion. She checked her rifle one more time, loaded a fresh magazine. 30 rounds. Her father's voice echoed. Should be is a phrase that gets people killed, baby girl. Always have a backup plan. She loaded 2 extra magazines onto her vest, checked her K-bar. Good to go. Stone gave her the signal. You're clear to begin. Clock starts when you breach the door. Kira approached the building. Slow, controlled, scanning for threats. She reached the door, tested the handle, locked. She took 3 steps back, raised her boot, kicked hard just below the handle. The door crashed open. Clock started. She flowed through the doorway, low, fast, rifle up, scanning corners. Empty room, doorway ahead, stairs to the right. She moved to the doorway, sliced the pie, checked angles. Clear, advanced. Long hallway, 3 doors. She moved down the hall, checking each door as she passed. First room, clear. Second room, clear. Third room, 2 hostages zip-tied to chairs, hoods over their heads. She cleared the rest of the room. No threats. Removed the hoods. Stay here. I'm clearing the rest of the building. The hostages nodded. She moved back to the stairs, began climbing. Slow, controlled. Every step deliberate. And suddenly she wasn't at Camp Pendleton anymore. She was in Wyoming, 16 years old, in the abandoned barn her father used for training. Garrett's voice behind her. Low and fast, baby girl. Check your corners. Violence of action. You don't give them time to think. You move like a ghost. You kill like a demon. Young Kira practicing the movements, over and over. Hundreds of repetitions, thousands, until it wasn't thinking anymore, until it was just muscle memory. This is how we cleared buildings in Mogadishu, Garrett said. October 3rd, 1993, Black Hawk down. I was there with Force Recon. Watched Rangers in Delta go house to house. Watched good men die because they hesitated. He grabbed her shoulders, looked her in the eyes. You will be smooth. You will be fast. You will be violent when violence is required, and you will come home. You understand me? Yes, sir. Say it. I will be smooth. I will be fast. I will come home. Present day, top of the stairs. Kira snapped back to reality. 3 rooms on the 2nd floor. She flowed into the first. Clear. 2nd room, 1 hostile target. She engaged. Double tap to center mass. Target down. 3rd room, 2 more hostages. She cleared them. Checked her time. 18 minutes. She moved back downstairs. Cleared the 1st floor rooms again. Found 1 more hostile target hiding in a closet. Engaged. Target down. Total time, 23 minutes. She emerged from the building. Stone was holding a stopwatch. His expression was carefully neutral, but Kira could see it in his eyes. He was impressed. Kendrick was less subtle. Jesus Christ, she muttered. Crane approached, looked at the time. Acceptable, but his voice said something different. His voice said, How did you do that? Stone stepped forward. Sir, I need to say something. What is it, Gunny? Her technique. It's not standard Marine Corps CQB. It's something else. Explain. She's using hand signals I learned at Quantico in the 90s. Old Force Recon protocols. And her entry tactics are more aggressive than we teach. She's combining Force Recon methodology with something more recent. Something I've only seen in Joint Special Operations command footage. Crane's jaw tightened. What are you saying? I'm saying she's had specialized training, sir, well beyond what a normal Navy officer would receive. Crane looked at Kira, really looked at her. Where did you learn to clear buildings, Lieutenant? My father taught me, sir. Your father? Yes, sir. Master Sergeant Garrett Blackwell, Force Recon. He served in Mogadishu. Black Hawk down, October 1993. The color drained from Crane's face. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Garrett Blackwell was your father? Yes, sir. Crane turned and walked away without another word. Stone and Kendrick exchanged glances. Kendrick pulled out her tablet, started typing, looking up personnel files. Kira sat down, drank water. Her body was shutting down. 29 hours without real sleep. 30 kilometers forced march. High-stress building clearance. And she still had more than 2 days to go. But she'd made a promise. To her father, to Cole Brennan, to herself. She wasn't going to quit. Stone approached. Ma'am, can I ask you something? Go ahead, Gunny. How long did you train with your father? 14 years, from age 10 until he died 3 years ago. And he taught you Force Recon tactics. He taught me everything he knew. Said he was training me for a war he prayed I'd never fight. She looked up at Stone. Turns out he was right about the war, wrong about the praying. Stone nodded slowly. Your father, Garrett Blackwell. I've heard stories. Kafji, Mogadishu. The man was a legend. He was. Ma'am, I need to tell you something. Your performance in that building. That wasn't just good. That was exceptional. I've evaluated Force Recon Marines, MARSOC, Marine Raiders. You just outperformed most of them. Kira said nothing, just touched the black band on her wrist. Stone saw the gesture. What's under that band? Kira pulled it back, revealed the tattoo, Wraith's Blood, 1960 to 2021. Wraith, Stone whispered. That was your father's call sign. In the Gulf War, yes. Stone stood at attention, rendered a slow, perfect salute. Your father saved my platoon commander's life in Kafji. I never got to thank him, but I can thank you for carrying on his legacy. Kira returned the salute. Kendrick approached. Her expression had changed. She'd found something in the personnel files. Ma'am, your file. Most of it's redacted. Naval Special Warfare Classification. Is it? You're not just a training officer, are you? Kira met her eyes, said nothing. Kendrick nodded. Understood, ma'am. Crane's vehicle pulled up again. He climbed out, looked at Kira. Evolution 3 starts in 1 hour. Ambush response. Full tactical scenario. Be ready. The vehicle drove away. Kira closed her eyes, leaned her head back against the concrete, let the exhaustion wash over her. But she couldn't rest, not really, because the memories were coming now, flooding back. The ones she'd spent 3 years trying to bury. Afghanistan, September 12, 2020, the day Cole Brennan died. Evolution 3 was designed to break people mentally, an ambush scenario. Kira's simulated convoy hit by surprise attack. She had to respond under pressure, suppress enemy fire, maneuver her team, call for support, execute a tactical withdrawal, all while evaluators threw curveballs, changed the scenario mid-mission, added complications, the kind of chaos that separated warriors from pretenders. Kira moved through the scenario like she'd done it 1,000 times before, because she had. Not in training, in reality. She laid down suppressing fire, used hand signals to direct her simulated team, called for fire support on the radio using proper 9-line format, executed a textbook tactical withdrawal. But Stone noticed something, the way she signaled, the way she communicated. Those aren't Marine signals, he said to Kendrick. No, they're not. Naval Special Warfare uses those signals. NSW, the SEALs. Kendrick looked at him. You think she's... I don't know, but I'm going to find out. The scenario ended. Kira had performed flawlessly. Not a single mistake, zero hesitation, just smooth, professional execution. Crane was watching from his vehicle. His expression was unreadable. Stone approached Kira. Ma'am, where did you learn those hand signals? Training. What kind of training? Kira looked at him. The classified kind, Gunny. Stone nodded, said nothing more, but he pulled out his phone, made a call, asked questions. Meanwhile, Crane sat in his vehicle, staring at that old photograph from Kuwait. Him and Garrett Blackwell. 1991, 33 years ago. He was remembering things he'd spent decades trying to forget. January 30th, 1991, Battle of Kafji. Iraqi forces pushed across the border into Saudi Arabia. The Marines had to push them back, had to retake the city. Crane was a young lieutenant, 27 years old, first combat deployment. He'd trained for war his entire career. But training and reality are two different things. His unit took contact in the southern part of the city, heavy machine gun fire from a building. 2 of his Marines went down, wounded, bleeding, screaming. Crane froze. Just for a second. Just long enough. The Marines started taking more fire. The situation was falling apart. Crane couldn't think, couldn't move. Then Garrett Blackwell appeared. Master Sergeant, Force Recon, 31 years old, already a veteran of dozens of covert operations. Lieutenant, snap out of it. Garrett's voice cut through the chaos. Get your Marines to cover. Now. Crane tried to move. Couldn't. Garrett grabbed him, physically moved him behind a wall. Stay here. I'll handle this. What happened next became legend. Garrett moved forward alone, under fire, threw a grenade through the window where the machine gun was positioned, rushed the building. His rifle jammed on entry. He transitioned to his K-bar knife. He killed 3 Iraqi soldiers with that knife, in close quarters, hand to hand, brutal, efficient, deadly. Then he dragged both wounded Marines to safety, saved their lives, saved Crane's career. Garrett received the Navy Cross for his actions that day. The citation mentioned his complete disregard for personal safety and decisive action in the face of overwhelming enemy fire. It didn't mention Crane freezing, didn't mention the young lieutenant who couldn't do his job when it mattered most. The Marine Corps promoted Crane 6 months later, gave him credit for the operation, called him a hero. But Crane knew the truth, and so did Garrett. They never spoke about it, but Crane spent the next 30 years carrying that burden, that shame, that knowledge that he wasn't the warrior everyone thought he was. And he'd spent 30 years resenting Garrett Blackwell for being everything Crane wasn't. Now, sitting in his vehicle at Camp Pendleton, Crane realized something. He wasn't testing Kira Blackwell to prove women didn't belong in combat. He was testing her because she reminded him of her father. Because she had Garrett's eyes, Garrett's calm, Garrett's absolute control, and it terrified him. Because if she was anything like her father, she was going to succeed. She was going to prove him wrong. Again, just like Garrett had done 30 years ago. Evolution 4 didn't start until sunset, a hostage negotiation scenario, psychological warfare, designed to trigger emotional responses, to make people crack under pressure. Crane himself played the hostage taker over the radio. Years of command had taught him how to read people, how to find their pressure points. The scenario began. Kira took up a position behind cover, established communication with the hostage taker, started negotiating. Crane's voice came through cold and aggressive. "Who am I talking to?" "This is Lieutenant Blackwell, United States Navy. I'm here to resolve this peacefully." "Navy? You're a long way from water, sweetheart." Kira's voice remained flat, professional. "Sir, we can end this without anyone getting hurt. Tell me what you want." "What I want? I want to know how many people you've killed, Lieutenant. You're military. You've killed, haven't you?" Silence. "How many?" Crane pressed. 10? 20? "Do you remember their faces? Do you see them when you close your eyes?" Kira's expression didn't change, but Stone, watching through binoculars, saw her left hand grip the radio a little tighter. "Sir, this isn't about me. Let's focus on—" "It's absolutely about you. You're standing there pretending to care about hostages, but you're a killer. You've got blood on your hands, don't you?" Stone lowered his binoculars. "Sir, this is crossing a line." Kendrick nodded. "This isn't standard protocol. He's trying to break her." On the radio, Kira continued negotiating. Her voice never wavered, never showed emotion. She worked through the scenario step by step. Professional, controlled, cold. After 30 minutes, she successfully negotiated the hostage release. Perfect execution. But when she stood up, Stone saw her hands shaking. Just slightly. Just enough. Crane emerged from the command vehicle. He looked at Kira. "Acceptable performance. Day 2 is complete. Day 3 starts at 0500. The final evolution. 20 hours continuous. Most candidates quit halfway through. I expect you'll do the same." He walked away. Stone approached Kira. "Ma'am, are you—" "I'm fine, Gunny." That was inappropriate, what he did, asking those questions. He was doing his job, testing my psychological limits. Still, it was wrong. Kira looked at him. "He's right, though. I do have blood on my hands. 32 kills across 4 deployments. Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen. I remember every single one." Stone went quiet. Kira continued, "But I don't regret them. They were enemy combatants trying to kill me or my team. I did what warriors do, what my father taught me to do. I stayed cold. I finished the mission. I brought my people home." She paused. "Most of them, anyway." She walked away before Stone could respond. Kendrick watched her go. She's not just Force Recon trained. No. You think she's a SEAL? I think we're about to find out. I made some calls. Her file is locked up tight, but I got confirmation of one thing. She received the Navy Cross. September 2020, Helmand Province. Details classified. The Navy Cross. Jesus. Yeah, whatever she did to earn that, it was serious. Kira found a quiet spot away from the evaluators, sat down against a tree, closed her eyes. But she couldn't rest. The memories were too strong now. Afghanistan, Helmand Province, September 12, 2020. SEAL Team 3, Charlie Platoon. Mission, high-value target capture in Taliban-controlled territory. Helicopter insertion at dawn. Kira was Reaper 4, breacher, automatic rifleman, the youngest member of the platoon, the only woman. Her team leader was Lieutenant Cole Brennan, Reaper 7, 32 years old, 5 deployments, one of the best operators in naval special warfare. He'd been skeptical when Kira joined the team, didn't think women belonged in combat, but she'd proven herself, earned his respect, his trust. They'd become close. Not romantic, but the kind of bond that forms between warriors who trust each other with their lives. Brothers, sisters, family. The helicopter took fire on approach. RPG. Caught them in the tail rotor. The birds started spinning. Pilot fought for control. Lost. They crashed hard. Kira remembered the impact, the screaming metal, the chaos, the fire. She came to with blood in her mouth, ears ringing, vision blurred. The helicopter was on its side, burning. She pulled herself out. Then she saw Cole, trapped under debris, lower body crushed, blood everywhere. Taliban fighters were closing in, maybe 50 meters away. Automatic weapons fire ripping through the crash site. Kira grabbed Cole, started dragging him. He was twice her size, 200 pounds of muscle and gear. She pulled with everything she had. "Leave me," Cole gasped. "Get to the rally point." "Shut up, sir, I'm getting you out." "That's an order, Blackwell." "Respectfully, sir, fuck your order." She dragged him 50 meters, laid down covering fire, dragged him another 50, Taliban getting closer, rounds snapping past her head. 100 meters. Her muscles were screaming, her vision was tunneling, but she kept moving. She got him to a depression in the ground. Cover. She set up a defensive position, returned fire, called for medevac on the radio. "Reaper 7 is critical. I need immediate extraction." Grid follows. Cole grabbed her hand. "Kira, stop." She looked at him. His eyes were starting to glaze. "Sir, stay with me." "You did good, kid. You got Wraith's blood in you, just like your old man." "Don't talk like that. Medevac is inbound." "Tell my wife I love her. Tell my daughter her daddy was thinking about her." "You tell her yourself. You're going to make it." But she knew better. She'd seen enough combat casualties to know. Cole was dying. He smiled, weak. "Finish it, Blackwell. Don't let them break you. Stay cold, like Wraith taught you." "I will, sir. I promise." He died 18 minutes after the crash. Kira held his hand the whole time. The medevac arrived. They extracted Cole's body, extracted Kira. She spent 2 days in medical, then she went back to work. 6 months later, they gave her the Navy Cross. The citation said she'd shown extraordinary heroism and complete disregard for personal safety. Said she'd carried her wounded team leader 200 meters under sustained enemy fire. It didn't mention that she'd failed, that Cole died anyway, that she'd made him a promise to stay cold, to finish the mission, to never let them break her. A promise she'd been keeping for 3 years. Present day, Camp Pendleton. Kira opened her eyes, looked at the black band on her wrist, pulled it back, revealed the full tattoo. Wraith's Blood / 1960 to 2021. Below it, in smaller script, Brennan / Reaper -7 / 2020. She stood up, checked her gear, prepared for the final day. 20 hours, 5 evolutions, everything Crane could throw at her. She was going to finish it. Not for Crane, not for herself, for Garrett, for Cole, for the promise she'd made. Stay cold. 500 hours, day 3, the final evolution. 20 hours continuous operation. Navigation across rough terrain to 3 separate objectives. Execute a raid on a target building. Handle a mass casualty situation. Then escape and evade while a hunter force tracked her through the mountains. It was designed to be impossible. Most candidates quit by hour 10. Nobody had ever completed all 20 hours without major failures. Crane was betting Kira would break. He was wrong. She started with the navigation. 3 objectives, each 10 kilometers apart. Mountainous terrain, no trails, just compass and map. Hour 1 through 8, she moved steady, 1 foot in front of the other. Her body was already damaged from 2 days of abuse. 36 hours of accumulated exhaustion, dehydration, muscle fatigue, blisters, minor injuries. But her mind was clear, because she'd learned something from her father years ago. The body quits when the mind lets it. If you can control your mind, you can control everything. She reached the first objective at hour 7, a mock enemy compound. She had to breach, clear, and secure intelligence. She flowed through the building like water, smooth, fast, violent when required. The techniques her father taught her in that Wyoming barn. The techniques she'd perfected through BUD/S. The techniques she'd used in real combat in 4 different countries. Stone watched through the observation camera. She's been going for 43 hours straight. How is she still moving? Kendrick shook her head. Training, discipline, something else. Her father's ghost, Stone muttered. Wraith is in her head, pushing her forward. Second objective, hour 12. Mass casualty scenario, 5 wounded. She had 10 minutes to triage and treat. Kira moved with the confidence of someone who'd done this under real fire. Applied tourniquets, packed wounds, called for medevac with perfect 9-line format. But Stone saw something else. A moment where Kira's hands hesitated over one of the wounded. Just for a second, her eyes distant, she was remembering. Remembering Afghanistan. Remembering Cole. Then she snapped back. Finished the treatment. 8 minutes, 30 seconds. Acceptable, Crane said over the radio. He didn't sound happy. Third objective, hour 14. The raid. Breach a fortified position. Clear multiple rooms. Secure a high-value target. Kira attacked with controlled aggression. Used breaching charges. Threw flashbangs. Moved through the structure with the speed and precision of an operator with years of experience. Because she had years of experience. Stone couldn't stay quiet anymore. Sir, I need to say something. Crane was watching through binoculars. What is it? She's not just force recon trained. She's naval special warfare. She's a SEAL. That's impossible. Women weren't. Sir, BUD/S has been integrated since 2016. Class 340. I checked. She graduated in 2017. She's SEAL Team 3. Crane lowered his binoculars. His hands were shaking. Garrett Blackwell's daughter is a Navy SEAL. Yes, sir. And we've been testing her like she's some inexperienced officer. Yes, sir. Crane sat down, put his head in his hands. Kendrick approached. Sir, there's more. I pulled what I could from her record. She received the Navy Cross in 2020. 32 confirmed kills, 4 combat deployments. She's one of the most decorated female operators in U.S. military history. And I slapped her in front of 1,000 Marines. Yes, sir. Crane looked up. This isn't a test anymore. This is a disaster. It's only a disaster if she fails, sir. And if she doesn't, then you destroyed the career of a war hero out of petty resentment. Crane said nothing. On the course, Kira had completed the raid. She was moving to the final phase. Escape, and evasion. Hour 16, she had to evade a hunter force for 4 hours. 6 trained trackers, former Force Recon and Marine Raiders, experts at manhunting. Crane made a decision he'd later regret. He added 4 more hunters, 10 total, against the rules, but he wanted to see her fail. The hunters spread out, started tracking. Kira was already gone. She used every technique Garrett had taught her, created false trails, doubled back on her own tracks, moved through water to break her scent, used terrain to her advantage. Hour 17. The hunters were frustrated they couldn't find her. Hour 18. One hunter thought he had her, closed in on movement in the brush, found nothing but a carefully placed pack decoy. Hour 19. Kira was supposed to reach an extraction point. She arrived 30 minutes early, sat down, waited. The hunter force was still looking for her 2 hours later. Stone keyed his radio. All hunters, terminate exercise. Subject has reached extraction. The hunters converged on the extraction point, found Kira sitting calmly, cleaning her rifle. One of them, a grizzled Force Recon veteran, just shook his head. "Ma'am, I've been hunting people for 20 years. You just ghosted us like we were boot camp recruits. Where the hell did you learn that?" Kira looked up. "My father, Wraith. He learned it in the Gulf War. Taught me when I was a kid. I've been practicing for 20 years. The hunter laughed, a sound of pure respect. Wraith's daughter should have known. Crane's vehicle pulled up. He stepped out, looked at Kira. She was covered in dirt, bleeding from a dozen small cuts, swaying slightly from exhaustion. But she was standing. She'd completed all 20 hours. Every evolution, 0 failures. Crane opened his mouth to speak. Then Colonel Grayson's vehicle arrived. He stepped out holding a manila folder. His expression was grim. "Admiral Crane, we need to talk. Now." Grayson stood beside his vehicle, holding that manila folder like it contained classified nuclear codes. His face was carved from stone. Behind him, 3 senior officers emerged from a second vehicle. Captains, commanders, people who didn't show up to routine training exercises. This was about to become official. Crane looked at them, then at Kira. She was still standing at attention, swaying slightly. 48 hours of continuous operations, maybe 4 hours of sleep total. Her uniform was shredded, dried blood on her hands, her face, but her eyes were clear, alert, waiting. Stone and Kendrick stood off to the side with the hunter force. Every one of them was watching. Grayson walked toward Crane. "Admiral, I need you to understand something before I open this folder. What you did 3 days ago was assault. What you've been doing for the last 72 hours could be considered harassment and retaliation. The only reason you're not in custody right now is because Lieutenant Blackwell refused to file charges." Crane's face went pale. "Colonel, I'm not finished." Grayson's voice was cold, hard. "You wanted to test her. You wanted to prove that women don't belong in combat roles, that they're not good enough, not tough enough, not warrior enough." He opened the folder. "Let me tell you who you've been testing, sir." The morning sun was climbing higher now. Not a single person moved. The only sound was wind through the hills and Grayson's voice, steady and clear. "Lieutenant Kira Blackwell, 29 years old, graduate of the United States Naval Academy, class of 2016, commissioned as an ensign, surface warfare officer track, served 1 year aboard USS John Paul Jones." Grayson paused. Then she did something extraordinary. She volunteered for basic underwater demolition/SEAL training, BUD/S class 340, first fully integrated class. Started with 230 candidates, graduated with 36. He looked up from the folder, looked at Crane. Lieutenant Blackwell was one of them. 23 years old, 5'7", 140 pounds. She completed Hell Week. She completed the full BUD/S pipeline. She became a Navy SEAL. Stone muttered something under his breath. Kendrick's eyes went wide. Grayson continued. She was assigned to SEAL Team 3, Charlie Platoon, call sign Reaper 4. She completed 4 combat deployments between 2018 and 2021. Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen. 78 missions total, 32 confirmed enemy kills. The folder had pages and pages. Grayson was only reading the highlights. December 2018, Operation in Syria. Her platoon ambushed by ISIS fighters. Lieutenant Blackwell provided covering fire while her team maneuvered to safety. Killed 4 enemy combatants. Received Bronze Star with Valor. He turned a page. June 2019, Iraq. Vehicle-borne IED attack on her convoy. Lieutenant Blackwell pulled 2 wounded SEALs from a burning vehicle under enemy fire. Returned fire while treating casualties. Received Silver Star. Another page. March 2020, Yemen. Direct action raid on Al-Qaeda compound. Lieutenant Blackwell was primary breacher. First through the door. Cleared 6 rooms under fire. Secured high-value target. Received Bronze Star with Valor. Grayson's voice got quieter, heavier. September 12, 2020, Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Her platoon's helicopter took an RPG during insertion. The bird crashed. Lieutenant Blackwell was knocked unconscious. When she came to, she found her team leader, Lieutenant Cole Brennan, critically wounded. Taliban fighters closing in from multiple directions. Kira's expression didn't change, but Stone saw her left hand close into a fist, so tight her knuckles went white. Lieutenant Blackwell carried Lieutenant Brennan 200 meters through open ground. Under sustained automatic weapons fire, she set up a defensive position, returned fire with her rifle until she ran out of ammunition, then with her sidearm. She called for medevac. She treated Lieutenant Brennan's wounds. She held that position for 18 minutes until extraction arrived. Grayson looked up. His eyes were wet. Lieutenant Brennan died from his wounds, but Lieutenant Blackwell saved 3 other members of her team that day. She was the last one on the helicopter, refused to leave until every one of her brothers was accounted for. He held up a certificate, Navy Cross citation, the 2nd highest award for valor in the United States military. For extraordinary heroism in combat, for complete disregard for personal safety, for refusing to abandon her wounded team leader despite overwhelming enemy fire, for actions above and beyond the call of duty. Silence. Complete and total silence. Grayson walked toward Kira. She came to attention. He stood in front of her. Lieutenant Blackwell, these officers are here as witnesses. What happened 3 days ago was wrong. What happened over the last 72 hours was wrong. You deserve better than this. Sir, Let me finish. Grayson's voice was gentle now. You are one of the most decorated special operations soldiers in the United States military. You have served with honor, courage, and distinction. You have earned your place 1,000 times over, and I am proud to serve alongside you. He extended his hand. Welcome to Camp Pendleton, Lieutenant. Officially, this time. Kira shook his hand. Her face was still calm, still controlled, but there were tears in her eyes now, silent, streaming down her dirty face. Stone stepped forward, came to attention, saluted. Ma'am, I have trained Force Recon Marines for 15 years. I have never seen anyone perform like you just did. It has been an honor. Kendrick saluted. Ma'am, you're an inspiration. Thank you for your service. One by one, the Hunter Force came forward, saluted, showed respect. These were hard men, veteran operators. They didn't give respect easily, but they gave it now. Crane stood frozen, watching it all happen. His face was ash gray, his hands trembling. Grayson turned to him. Admiral Crane, you will report to Compact FLT headquarters at 0800 tomorrow morning. You will explain why you struck a Navy Cross recipient, why you attempted to destroy her career out of personal vendetta, Why you violated the uniform code of military justice and basic human decency. Colonel, I didn't know. You didn't want to know. Grayson's voice was sharp. You assumed. You judged. You let your prejudice and your ego override your duty. That's not leadership. That's cowardice. Crane flinched like he'd been slapped. Grayson continued. Effective immediately, you are relieved of your oversight duties for this training program. You will have no further contact with Lieutenant Blackwell. You will submit your formal letter of apology within 24 hours. Is that understood? Yes, sir. Grayson nodded to one of the senior officers. Captain Morrison will escort you back to base. Crane started toward his vehicle, then stopped, turned back, looked at Kira. Lieutenant Blackwell. She looked at him, those flat, empty eyes. Your father, Garrett. I served with him in Kafji, January 1991. He saved my life. Kira said nothing. I never thanked him. I spent 30 years resenting him instead, because he was everything I wasn't, everything I wanted to be but couldn't. And when I saw you standing in that formation, I saw him, and it terrified me. His voice cracked. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You deserve better. Your father deserved better. I failed you both. Kira was quiet for a long moment, then she spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. My father told me about Kafji, about the firefight, about the Marines who were wounded, about the young lieutenant who froze. She paused. He never mentioned your name, never spoke badly about you, just said that war is hell and people react differently. Some freeze, some fight, some run. All of it is human. Crane couldn't meet her eyes. Kira continued. He said the measure of a warrior isn't what happens in the first moment of fear. It's what you do with the rest of your life. Whether you learn from it, grow from it, become better. She pulled something from her pocket, the old photograph from Kuwait, Garrett and Crane, 1991. He kept this photo on his desk in Wyoming until the day he died. When I asked him about the people in it, he said they were his brothers. All of them, even the ones who struggled. She handed the photo to Crane. He forgave you a long time ago, Admiral. Maybe it's time you forgave yourself. Crane took the photo, tears streaming down his face. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you. He walked away, climbed into the vehicle. It drove off. The senior officers departed as well, leaving just Grayson, Stone, Kendrick, and Kira. Stone approached Grayson. Sir, with respect, why didn't we know who she was? Because that's what she wanted, Grayson said. After Cole Brennan died, Lieutenant Blackwell requested assignment to training duties. She didn't want recognition, didn't want special treatment. She just wanted to do the work quietly, train the next generation. He looked at Kira. She's been here 6 months, running our advanced tactics program, teaching courses that are making our Marines better operators, and not one person knew who she really was. Why? Kendrick asked. Kira spoke. Because it's not about me. It's about the mission, about preparing warriors to survive combat, about bringing people home. That's what my father taught me. That's what Cole taught me. The job matters. The ego doesn't. Stone shook his head in wonder. Ma'am, you're remarkable. No, Gunny. I'm just my father's daughter. Grayson handed Kira a bottle of water. Lieutenant, you're off duty for 72 hours. That's an order. Get medical attention. Get rest. Thank you, sir. Grayson started toward his vehicle, then stopped, turned back. Kira, your father would be so proud of you. Garrett was my closest friend. He saved my life in Mogadishu in '93. I owed him everything. When he was dying, he called me, asked me to watch over you. His voice got thick. I've been watching you for 3 years, watching you carry the weight of Cole's death. But you need to know something. You are the warrior Garrett hoped you'd be. You are the operator Cole believed you were. Don't hide that light. Kira nodded, couldn't speak. Too many emotions. Grayson climbed in his vehicle and drove away. Stone and Kendrick packed up the equipment, gave Kira space. She stood alone in the training area, sun climbing higher, the smell of dust and sage in the air. She touched the black band on her wrist, pulled it back, looked at the tattoo, Wraith's Blood, / 1960 to 2021, Brennan / Reaper - 7 / 2020. I kept my promise, she whispered. I stayed cold. I finished the mission. I made you proud. The wind picked up, carrying the sound of the ocean from miles away. Somewhere, Garrett Blackwell and Cole Brennan were at peace. And Kira, for the first time in 3 years, felt something other than control and grief. She felt whole. 2 weeks later, the story had spread through Camp Pendleton like wildfire. Everyone knew what happened, what Crane did, what Kira survived, who she really was. The Marines who had stood in that formation, who had watched her get struck, they looked at her differently now. Not with pity, with respect. But Kira didn't change. She showed up every day, ran her training courses, taught tactics and combat skills, stayed quiet, professional. She was teaching an advanced CQB course on a Tuesday afternoon when a young Marine officer approached after class. Lieutenant Quinn Hartwell, 26 years old, fresh from officer candidate school. "Ma'am, can I ask you something?" Kira was cleaning her rifle. "Go ahead, Lieutenant. How did you stay so calm when Admiral Crane hit you? When everyone was watching, how did you not lose control?" Kira was quiet for a moment, kept cleaning. "My father taught me something when I was 12 years old. We were hunting elk in Wyoming. Big bull, beautiful animal. I had him in my sights, perfect shot, but I got buck fever. Started shaking. Pulled the trigger too fast, missed completely." She looked up at Hartwell. "My dad didn't get angry, didn't yell, just sat me down and said something I've never forgotten. He said, 'Kira, fear makes you stupid, anger makes you sloppy, pain makes you careless. A warrior stays cold. Cold like Wyoming winter, cold like Wraith in the desert. You control your emotions, or they control you.'" Hartwell nodded slowly. "And you've done that ever since?" "I've tried. It's not easy. There are days when I want to scream, to break things, to let all that rage and grief and pain come pouring out." She paused. "But then I remember my father. I remember Cole Brennan bleeding out in my arms. I remember the promises I made, and I stay cold." "That must be lonely." Kira smiled, small, sad. "It is, but it keeps me alive. Keeps the people around me alive. That's what matters." Hartwell was quiet for a moment. "Ma'am, I heard you trained with your father for 14 years. I never had that. My father wasn't military. I don't have that foundation." Kira looked at her, really looked at her, saw herself at that age. "Lieutenant, can I tell you something?" "Yes, ma'am. You don't need my father's legacy. You need your own. You need to find what drives you, what makes you willing to suffer, to sacrifice." She set down her rifle. "My father was a legend, Navy Cross recipient, Force Recon Marine. But he was also a man who watched friends die, who carried guilt and grief his entire life, who drank too much sometimes because the nightmares wouldn't stop, who died at 61 because the war never really ended for him." Her voice got softer. "I loved him. I honor his memory. But I'm not trying to be him. I'm trying to be the warrior he trained me to be. That's different." Hartwell nodded. "What's the difference?" "He carried the weight alone. I'm learning to share it. He buried his pain. I'm learning to acknowledge it. He thought asking for help was weakness. I'm learning it's strength." Kira stood up. "Be a warrior, but be your own kind of warrior." "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." Hartwell started to leave, then turned back. "Ma'am, one more question. Are you going to keep teaching, or are you going back to the teams?" Kira had been asking herself that same question for 3 years. "I don't know, Part of me wants to go back, to finish what Cole and I started.
And the other part?
The other part thinks maybe I can do more good here, training the next generation, making sure they come home. What would your father say? Kira smiled. He'd say, trust your gut, follow your instincts, do what feels right, not what's easy. And what feels right? I'm still figuring that out. Hartwell left. Kira finished cleaning her rifle, started packing her gear. Her phone buzzed. Text from Grayson. My office, 1600 hours, important. She checked her watch. 30 minutes. She secured her equipment and headed to the command building. Grayson's office was on the second floor, view overlooking the parade ground where this whole thing started. Kira knocked on the door. Enter. She walked in. Grayson was behind his desk, but he wasn't alone. Commander Sarah Mitchell, Naval Special Warfare Group 1, 52 years old, silver hair, hard eyes. She'd been one of the first female officers in Naval Special Warfare Command back in the 90s. Kira came to attention. Commander Mitchell, ma'am. Mitchell stood, extended her hand. Lieutenant Blackwell, I've heard a lot about you. They shook hands. Mitchell's grip was firm. Sit down, both of you, Grayson said. They sat. Kira waited. Mitchell spoke first. Lieutenant, I'll get straight to the point. Naval Special Warfare Command has been watching your career. Before Cole Brennan died, he submitted a recommendation. Said you were the best operator he'd worked with. Natural tactical mind. Unshakable under fire. Born for this work. She pulled out a folder. After his death, you requested training duty. We approved it because we understood. Losing your team leader, the trauma, the grief, you needed time. Yes, ma'am. It's been 3 years. The question is, what do you want to do now? Kira was quiet. She'd been avoiding this question. Mitchell continued. You have options. You can stay here, continue training Marines, do excellent work. That's honorable and needed. Or you can come back to the teams. SEAL Team 3 is standing up a new platoon. They need an experienced operator, someone who's been there, done it, survived it. She opened the folder. They want you as platoon leader. Lieutenant Blackwell, Reaper 7, Cole's call sign, his position. Kira felt like she'd been punched in the chest. Reaper 7, Cole's call sign, the weight of that. Ma'am, I don't know if I'm ready. Nobody's ever ready, Mitchell said. Cole wasn't ready when they made him platoon leader, but he grew into it because he cared about his people, because he led from the front, because he understood that leadership isn't about being the toughest or the smartest. It's about bringing everyone home. She leaned forward. You carried him 200 meters under fire. You held his position. You refused to leave anyone behind. That's what leadership looks like. That's what we need. Kira looked at Grayson. Sir, what do you think? Grayson was quiet for a long moment. I think your father trained you to be a warrior. Cole showed you how to be a leader. The question is whether you're ready to step into that role. I'm scared. What if I fail? What if people die because of my decisions? Then you'll carry that weight, Grayson said. Just like Cole did. Just like your father did. Just like every leader in combat does. But you'll also give those warriors the best chance of survival. Because you've been there, you know what it takes. Mitchell spoke again. Lieutenant, I'm not going to pressure you. This is your decision. But I want you to know something. When I joined NSW Command in 1996, I was the only woman. The men didn't want me there. I spent years proving myself. What changed? I stopped trying to prove I was as good as the men, started proving I was the best operator I could be, stopped caring what they thought, started focusing on the mission, and eventually, respect came, because I earned it through action. She stood up. You've already earned it, Lieutenant. You earned it in Syria, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. You earned it when you carried Cole through that hell. You earned it when you stood in that parade ground and took a hit without flinching. You earned it over 72 hours of hell that would break most men. She walked to the door, stopped, turned back. The teams need you. But more than that, the next generation of female operators needs to see you, needs to know it's possible, that they can do this, that they belong. Mitchell left. Kira sat in silence, processing. Grayson stood, walked to the window. Your father and I had a conversation once. Mogadishu, October 4th, 1993, the night after the Black Hawk went down. We just finished a 16-hour firefight, lost good men. Both of us were running on adrenaline and grief. He turned back. I asked him how he did it, how he stayed calm when everything was chaos, how he led when he was scared. You know what he said? What? He said fear is a gift. It sharpens you, makes you alert, makes you careful. The trick is using it without letting it control you. He said the best leaders are the ones who feel the fear and do the job anyway. Grayson walked over, put his hand on Kira's shoulder. You're scared, good. That means you understand the stakes. That means you'll be careful with people's lives. That means you'll make the hard decisions for the right reasons. What if I'm not my father? You're not supposed to be your father. You're supposed to be you. Kira Blackwell, Reaper 4, soon to be Reaper 7, the warrior who stayed cold, the operator who brought her people home, the leader who learned from the best and became something new. Kira stood up, looked out the window, at the parade ground, at the spot where Crane struck her, where this whole thing started. She touched the black band on her wrist, felt the tattoo underneath. Wraith's blood. Brennan. Reaper 7. The weight of legacy, the burden of promise, the honor of service. She'd been running from this for 3 years, hiding, pretending the warrior inside her could sleep. But warriors don't sleep. They evolve. They grow. They become what the mission requires. She turned to Grayson. When do I start? Grayson smiled. Team 3 wants you in 2 weeks. That gives you time to wrap up here. Say goodbye to your students. I'll be ready, sir. I know you will. He extended his hand. Your father would be so proud, Kira. So would Cole. They're watching, and they're smiling. They shook hands. Kira left the office, walked down the hallway, out into the California sun. She felt different, lighter, like a weight she'd been carrying for 3 years had finally lifted. She wasn't hiding anymore, wasn't running. She was Reaper 4, soon to be Reaper 7, daughter of Wraith, student of Brennan, warrior, leader, SEAL, and she was ready. 1 week before Kira was scheduled to leave for SEAL Team 3, she got a visitor. Admiral Victor Crane, no longer in uniform, civilian clothes, looking older, tired, but somehow at peace. He found her at the rifle range. She was zeroing a new optic. Lieutenant Blackwell. She turned, set down her rifle. Admiral, I didn't expect to see you. I'm not Admiral anymore, just Victor. They gave me the option to retire quietly. I took it. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was deserved. He paused. I came to say goodbye and to give you something. He pulled out an envelope, worn, yellowed with age. After you gave me that photograph, I went home, started going through old boxes, found this. It's a letter. Your father wrote it in 1991, right after Kafji. He never sent it. Kira took the envelope. Her hands were shaking. Why are you giving this to me? Because you deserve to know what kind of man your father really was, and because I spent 30 years believing a lie about him. Crane turned to leave, stopped. One more thing. I'm driving to D.C. next month, going to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Your father's name isn't on it because he survived, but I'm going to stand there and say thank you anyway. For Kafji, for saving my life, for being the warrior I wasn't. He met her eyes. You honor him every day, Lieutenant, by being the operator you are, by leading with integrity, by staying cold when the world is burning. That's his legacy, and it's in good hands. Crane walked away. Kira sat down, opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten, her father's distinctive script. February 1st, 1991. To whoever reads this, my name is Master Sergeant Garrett Blackwell, United States Marine Corps, Force Reconnaissance. I'm writing this from a field hospital in Saudi Arabia, 2 days after the Battle of Khafji. If you're reading this, I'm probably dead. That's fine. I've made peace with it. But there are things I need to say. War is hell. Everyone says it. Few understand it. In Khafji, I watched Marines die. Good men, brave men. They died because of bad luck, bad timing, bad decisions. Not because they weren't tough enough or trained enough or warrior enough. Just because war is chaos and chaos doesn't discriminate. I killed 3 men with my K-bar knife. Up close. Personal. I can still see their faces when I close my eyes. They were probably good men too. Probably had families. Probably didn't want to be there any more than I did. But that's war. You do what you have to do. I saved 8 Marines that day. Got the Navy Cross for it. But I don't feel like a hero. I feel like a survivor who got lucky. Because for every decision I got right, there were 10 I could have gotten wrong. For every life I saved, there were lives I couldn't save. If I make it home, I'm going to raise my daughter differently. I'm going to teach her to be strong, to be capable, to survive. But I'm also going to teach her to be compassionate, to understand that strength isn't about being hard, it's about being controlled, about using power responsibly. I'm going to teach her that being a warrior isn't about loving combat. It's about being prepared for it, about protecting those who can't protect themselves, about standing between evil and innocence, even when you're terrified. Most importantly, I'm going to teach her to stay cold, not cold-hearted, but cold-minded, to make decisions without emotion clouding judgment, to act when others freeze, to lead when others fail. Because that's what being a warrior really means. Not the shooting or the fighting or the killing. Those are just tools. Being a warrior means staying calm when everyone else panics. Means accepting fear and functioning anyway. Means carrying the weight so others don't have to. If I die before I can teach her these things, I hope someone else will. I hope she'll find mentors and leaders who understand. To my daughter, if you ever read this, I love you. I'm proud of you. Whatever you choose to do with your life, do it with purpose, with integrity, with honor. Stay cold, stay controlled, stay compassionate, and know that your old man did his best, even when it wasn't enough. Semper Fidelis, Master Sergeant Garrett Wraith Blackwell. Kira read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face, silent. Her father had written this 33 years ago, before she was even born, before he knew what kind of daughter he'd have. But he'd known. Somehow, he'd known. Stay cold, stay controlled, stay compassionate. That was his legacy, not the Navy Cross, not the confirmed kills, not the legend. The teaching, the wisdom, the understanding that being a warrior wasn't about violence. It was about purpose. She folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, placed it in her chest pocket, over her heart. I got your message, Dad, she whispered. I understand now. I'm ready. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of ocean and sage. Somewhere, Garrett Blackwell was at peace, and his daughter was finally free. Kira's last day at Camp Pendleton arrived fast. She'd spent the week transitioning her courses to other instructors, saying goodbye to students. She scheduled one final class, Advanced Close Quarters Combat, open to any Marine officer who wanted to attend. 40 people showed up, including Quinn Hartwell and 3 other young female officers. Kira stood in front of them. The sun was setting, golden light across the training area. Most of you know who I am now, she said. You know what I did, what I survived, what I earned. But that's not why I'm standing here today. She paused, looked at each face. I'm here because 15 years ago, A Force Recon Marine named Garrett Blackwell started training his 10-year-old daughter in the mountains of Wyoming. He didn't do it because he wanted her to be a warrior. He did it because he wanted her to survive, to be capable, to never be a victim. She pulled out her father's K-bar, the blade stained with blood from Kafji. This knife killed 3 men in 1991. My father gave it to me before he died, told me it represented everything he'd learned in war, that violence is sometimes necessary, but it should never be easy, never be enjoyable, never be the first option. She held it up. I've carried this blade through 4 combat deployments. I've never used it, not once, because my father taught me that the best warriors are the ones who can be violent, but choose not to be, who can kill but don't want to, who understand that every life taken is a tragedy, even when it's necessary. She sheathed the knife. Some of you will deploy to combat zones. Some of you will face enemy fire. Some of you will have to make the hardest decision a warrior can make, taking another human life. Her voice got softer. When that moment comes, remember this. You're not a killer. You're a protector. You're not a destroyer. You're a guardian. You do this work not because you love violence, but because you love the people you're protecting. Hartwell raised her hand. Ma'am, how do you live with it? The killing. How do you come home and be normal? Kira smiled sadly. You don't. You can't. Combat changes you. It marks you. It becomes part of who you are. But that's not the same as letting it define you. She touched the black band on her wrist. I've killed 32 people in combat. I remember every single one, their faces, the circumstances, the decisions that led to those moments. I carry them with me always. Does it get easier? No, and it shouldn't. The day it gets easy is the day you've lost your humanity. She walked to the center of the group. Here's what I learned from my father, from Cole Brennan, from 3 years of trying to hide from who I am. Being a warrior isn't about being hard. It's about being strong enough to be compassionate. It's about using power responsibly. It's about staying cold when you need to and warm when you can. She looked at the female officers. And for those of you who will face people who say you don't belong, who say you're not tough enough, who say women can't do this work, remember this. You don't prove them wrong with words. You prove them wrong with excellence, with professionalism, with results. Hartwell spoke again. What if we fail? What if we're not good enough? Then you'll fail forward. You'll learn. You'll adapt. You'll become better. Kira paused. My father failed in Mogadishu, watched men die, couldn't save everyone. It haunted him until the day he died. But it also made him a better warrior, a better teacher, a better man. She pulled out the letter Crane had given her. He wrote something before I was born, before he knew I'd follow this path. He said being a warrior means staying calm when everyone else panics, means accepting fear and functioning anyway, means carrying the weight so others don't have to. She held up the letter. That's your mission, not to be fearless, to be afraid and do the job anyway, not to be invincible, to be vulnerable and protect others anyway, not to be perfect, to be flawed and strive for excellence anyway. She looked at the sky. The sun was almost down now, stars appearing. I'm leaving tomorrow, going back to SEAL Team 3, taking over as platoon leader, taking my team leader's call sign, Cole Brennan's legacy. It terrifies me, but I'm doing it anyway, because that's what warriors do. She came to attention. You are all warriors, male or female, young or old, experienced or green. You've chosen to serve, to protect, to stand between evil and innocence. That choice matters. That choice is everything. She saluted them. They saluted back. Class dismissed. Semper Fi. The Marines filed out, but Hartwell and the 3 other female officers remained. They approached Kira. Hartwell spoke for all of them. Ma'am, we wanted to thank you for showing us what's possible. Kira looked at them, saw herself at their age. You don't need me, you need yourselves. You need to believe in your own strength, your own capability, your own right to be here. She pulled off the black band, revealed the full tattoo. Wraith's blood, Brennan, Reaper 7. This is my legacy, my father's blood, my team leader's memory, my call sign. But it's not what makes me a warrior. This is. She tapped her chest. Heart, purpose, mission. That's what makes you a warrior. She looked at each of them. Go find your own legacy. Write your own story. Become your own kind of warrior. And when someone tells you that you don't belong, prove them wrong. Not with anger, with excellence. The young officers left, inspired. Kira stood alone in the training area. One more time, tomorrow she'd leave, return to the teams, take on Cole's call sign, become Reaper 7. But tonight, she was just Kira, Wraith's daughter, trying to honor a legacy while building her own. She touched her wrist, felt the tattoo, the permanent reminder of where she came from and who she'd lost. I'm ready, Dad. I'm ready, Cole. I'll make you proud. The stars were out now, brilliant in the dark sky. Somewhere up there, two warriors were watching, and they were smiling. 6 months later, classified location, Middle East, SEAL Team 3, Charlie Platoon. Mission complete, high-value target secured, 0 casualties. Lieutenant Kira Blackwell, call sign Reaper 7, led her team to the extraction point. 8 operators, all alive, all returning home. They loaded onto the helicopter, lifted off, disappeared into the night. On the flight back to base, her radio operator handed her a message from Naval Special Warfare Command. Mission success, exceptional leadership, platoon recommended for commendation. Reaper 7, your father would be proud. Cole would be proud. We are proud. BZ. Bravo Zulu. Navy speak for job well done. Kira folded the message, put it in her pocket next to her father's letter. She looked at her team, young faces, exhausted but alive. They trusted her, followed her into hell, come out the other side. That was leadership. Not the shooting or the tactics, the trust, the bond, the promise to bring everyone home. She'd kept that promise, just like her father taught her, just like Cole showed her. Stay cold, stay controlled, stay compassionate. That was the legacy. That was the mission. That was the warrior's way. The helicopter banked toward base. Morning sun rising over the desert. Reaper 7 closed her eyes, allowed herself a moment of peace. She'd earned it. They all had. And somewhere in Wyoming, in the mountains where a force recon Marine once trained his daughter to survive, the wind whispered through the pines, carrying the echo of a father's voice. Stay cold, baby girl. Stay cold.